Ah, gather close now. Let me tell you of a young lad named Ben, a sprightly fellow full of wit and cleverness, thinking himself the sharpest in all the lands. But, dear friends, the road he walked was a treacherous one, and even the cleverest can fall into traps laid by their own hands. Karma, ye see, has a way of finding us all. In a quiet village lived a lad named Ben, not yet 20, full of promise and charm. But there was a darkness in him, a flaw that would cost him dearly. Ben, with all his cleverness, saw the world as a game to win at any cost, take in what he could, and thinking himself above the consequences. He'd borrow from his mates, never to return, lie to his elders to slip free of trouble, and cheat at every turn, believing that none would ever catch him. To Ben, the end always justified the means. His family, bless their hearts, tried to guide him with the teachings of honesty and kindness. But Ben, he scoffed, saying, "Only fools follow the rules. The wise, they take what they can and prosper." One day, an old sage visited the village, a man whose years weighed heavy on him, but whose wisdom was light as air. He spoke of karma, that mighty force that sets the scales of life right. "What ye do, good or ill, will surely return to ye," the old sage said, his voice calm but sure. Ben, with a sly grin, whispered to his friend, "Old tales for the weak. I've lived free as I like, and look, no harm has come me yet." The old sage gave him a knowing look and smiled. "Ah, Ben, let me share with you a story of a man who thought himself clever. Long ago, in a land of plenty, there lived a merchant, a man named Derek. He was beloved by all for his kindness and fair dealings. Derek gave freely to the needy and treated every soul with respect. But in that same land lived a man named Vito, a bitter soul with envy in his heart. Vito despised Derek's good fortune and plotted to take from him what wasn't his. One day, Vito approached Derek with a scheme, claiming to have a venture that would make them both rich. "Invest in my venture," Vito said. "We'll both see fortunes grow." Trusting, Derek parted with a large sum of gold. But no sooner had Vito received it, he vanished, never to return a coin. Derek, though saddened, did not lose his way. He continued to help others and spread kindness. Meanwhile, Vito, with his ill-gotten wealth, lived in excess, thinking he had won the game. But, alas, karma was watching. In time, Vito's plans faltered, and the riches he'd stolen turned to dust. His every venture failed, and debt began to close in around him. One day he found himself locked away, a prisoner for his deceit. Alone in his cell, he thought of Derek, realizing that all the gold he'd taken had never brought him joy, only sorrow. The old sage paused, his eyes locking onto Ben. "Do you understand now, lad? Karma reflects what we sow. If ye cheat and harm, that pain will surely come back to ye. But if ye live with honesty, kindness will return to ye tenfold." Ben chuckled. "Nice tale, old man. But I've been doing what I please and I'm still here, still getting by." The sage simply smiled and said, "Time, lad. Time will show you the truth." Ben, unbothered, continued his ways. He tricked a mate into doing his schoolwork, lied to his elders to escape trouble, and even took gold from his friend's pocket, thinking it harmless. But one day, as fate would have it, a turn of events came, as they often do when you least expect it. Ben, eager for more, applied for a grand scholarship. He forged his papers, penned a lie about his deeds, and thought he'd fool all. But fate, as it often does, had a different tale to tell. The committee, wise as they were, decided to check the pasts of all the hopefuls. When they spoke to Ben's teachers and friends, the truth of his lies was laid bare. Not only was he turned away, but his name was tarnished forever. The school told his family, and poor Ben felt the weight of shame like never before. And just like that, all things turned sour. The mates he'd deceived no longer stood by him. His teachers turned their backs. Even his kin, once proud, were disappointed. Ben, who'd thought himself the sharpest, now found himself all alone, lost and forsaken. In his lonely room, Ben thought of the old sage's words, "Karma always comes back." And for the first time, he understood that his wrongs had found their way back to him. That very evening, Ben sought the wisdom of his grandfather, just like Arjun had in tales of old. He confessed his misdeeds and asked, "Grandpa, is there a way to make this right, or have I gone too far?" The old man, wise as ever, smiled kindly and said, "Karma may visit you for what's gone by, but it also rewards those who choose to change. If you start doing good now, the future can be bright once again." Ben, his heart heavy, swore to change. He apologized to those he'd wronged, returned the gold he'd taken, and began to work hard in his lessons instead of cheating. It wasn't easy. His people didn't trust him at first. But bit by bit, as they saw his sincerity, they began to believe in him once more. Many years later, Ben became a man of standing, respected in the village as a fair businessman. When folks asked of his success, he'd smile and say, "I learned the lesson the hard way. Karma always comes back, so I made sure mine would be good." Every step we take, every choice, sends forth energy that will return to us. If we do good, good will return. If we act wrongly, the wrong will come for us in time. So, always choose the path of truth, kindness, and fairness. Because in the end, karma never forgets.